You're sitting in church on a Sunday morning. The pastor reads from a familiar passage, and you're following along in your English Standard or New American Standard Bible, just like you have for years. But then you glance down at the bottom of the page. Right there, in tiny print, is a note that says something like, "Some of the earliest manuscripts do not include these verses." For many readers, that tiny sentence raises an uncomfortable question about whether the text in front of them has been quietly altered over time. Online, that discomfort grows into a specific accusation. Skeptics point to a staggering 400,000 variants or errors found in the historical copies of the New Testament. These footnotes represent the visible results of a 500-year-old project to recover the exact words the apostles wrote. Learning the mechanics of this field, textual criticism, reveals how scholars navigate the manuscript record to ensure the modern text remains anchored to its historical source. The story of the printed text begins in Basel, Switzerland in 1515. A scholar named Desiderius Erasmus was hired to produce a printed Greek New Testament, racing to beat a rival Spanish project to the press. Because of the rush, Erasmus worked with what was locally available, 6 medieval manuscripts, none of which were copied earlier than the 12th century. His only manuscript for the Book of Revelation was missing its final page. To finish the project, Erasmus took the Latin version of those missing verses and translated them back into his own Greek. This reconstructed text was refined over the next century, eventually serving as the primary Greek source for the King James Version of 1611. The Protestant reformers operated on a principle called ad fontes, to the sources. They believed that clarity required bypassing tradition to return to the oldest available evidence. Modern textual criticism follows that same Reformation engine, using the most ancient documents we possess to evaluate every word of the text. Since the 16th century, the evidence base has expanded to roughly 5,800 Greek manuscripts, with some papyri dating back to within a few generations of the original authors. Scholars also look to ancient regional translations in Latin, Coptic, and Syriac, which provide millions of cross-references from across the early Christian world. When thousands of documents are hand-copied across centuries, human error is a natural consequence of the labor. Every slipped pen or misspelled word is recorded as a textual variant. Often, a scribe might accidentally harmonize 2 verses. If a phrase in verse 4 looked similar to a phrase in verse 1, the copyist might instinctively write it into both places. Scholars address this by comparing different manuscripts and asking, which of these readings better explains how the other one came to exist? The mountain of manuscripts provides the raw data scholars need to isolate and identify centuries of accumulated human typos. Reevaluating that figure of 400,000 variants requires looking at what a variant actually looks like on the page. 99% of these variants consist of minor spelling differences or the addition of a definite article, the kind of grammatical shifts that do not change the meaning of the sentence. The remaining meaningful differences do not alter foundational Christian doctrines. Like the Trinity, the bodily resurrection, and the deity of Christ stand on a network of passages where the text is not in dispute. In several key instances, the oldest manuscripts uncovered by critics actually use sharper, more explicit language regarding the deity of Jesus than the later medieval copies do. The high volume of variants reflects the New Testament's widespread popularity and massive distribution in the ancient world. Confessional Christians describe this history through the doctrine of preservation, the belief that God protected His Word as it passed through time. This preservation didn't involve keeping one flawless manuscript locked safely away in a vault, immune to the touches of human copyists. Instead, the apostolic message was preserved across the breadth of a global manuscript tradition, ensuring the truth survived through the weight of the evidence. Generations of scholars have performed the historical labor required to evaluate these thousands of manuscripts so that readers can trust the Bibles they hold today. That footnote in Romans acts as a window into the translation process, showing the scholar's work as they weigh the available evidence. Seeing a footnote in a Pew Bible is proof that the Church values the Word of God enough to keep pursuing its original historical truth.